September 15, 1963. The nation was shaken by the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, a terroristic act that unalived Adam A., Carol, Cynthia, and Denise, and left a community devastated. But what many don't know is that the violence didn't stop at the church. Before the day was over, 2 more young lives were stolen. Today, we shine light on the forgotten stories of Virgil Ware and Johnny Robinson. Birmingham, Alabama, 1963 was one of the most segregated cities in America. Tensions between black residents fighting for civil rights and white segregationists determined to preserve Jim Crow had reached a boiling point. The church bombing was just one piece of a larger wave of racist violence. And in the hours after the explosion, the anger and hatred spilled into the streets, creating a deadly environment for black citizens, young and old, that were simply trying to live their lives. Johnny Robinson was born in 1947 to Johnny Brown and Martha Marie Robinson. His early years were not easy. When Johnny was young, his father was unalived by a neighbor, leaving his mother to raise the family on her own. Despite hardship, those who knew Johnny recalled him as a good kid at heart. He attended Alberta Shields School, and though he faced challenges, he was deeply loved by his family. On Sunday afternoon, September 15, 1963, Johnny, who didn't attend the church, had just heard the news that the 16th Street Baptist Church had been bombed. Words of the attack spread quickly through Birmingham's black neighborhoods, filling the streets with grief, fear, and rising anger. That same day, Johnny stood with a group of friends outside a gas station on 26th Street North, just blocks from his home. Suddenly, a car full of white teenagers sped past, Confederate flags waving from the windows as they shouted racial slurs and hurled bottles towards the group of black teenagers. In retaliation, Johnny and his friends picked up rocks and threw them at the car. The rocks missed their intended target, striking another vehicle passing by. Police were quickly notified. Moments later, a patrol car pulled up. Johnny and his friends ran down a nearby alley, desperate to escape. Behind the wheel was Officer P.C. Cheek, who steered the patrol car into the alley, blocking their path. Officer Jack Parker sat in the back seat. The accounts of what happened next vary. According to Officer Parker, he fired a warning shot towards the ground and it accidentally struck Johnny. Another police on the scene claimed the shooting was an accident and that the gun discharged when the car hit a bump. However, according to witnesses, Officer Parker stepped out of the car, raised his shotgun, aimed, and fired twice directly towards the teenagers. Johnny was struck in the back. He collapsed as his friends scattered in fear. He was rushed to the hospital but passed away moments later. He was just 16 years old. Fear silenced the witnesses, and none would agree to testify. The Jefferson County Grand Jury refused to indict Officer Parker. He returned to duty with the Birmingham Police Department without consequence. He continued to work as a police officer for years before eventually resigning. Jack Parker passed away in 1977, leaving behind a family and community still haunted by the loss of a young man whose life was taken far too soon in an act of racial violence and injustice. Virgil Ware was born on December 6, 1949, to James Sr. and Lorraine Ware. One of 6 children, he grew up in Pratt City, a predominantly black suburb of Birmingham. Just entering 8th grade, Virgil had already earned a reputation as a bright and gifted student at the all-black school near his home. He played football, loved bike riding, and dreamed of one day becoming a lawyer. He sang in the choir at St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church, and his family described him as responsible and independent. He had recently started a paper route alongside his brother, James Jr., embracing new responsibilities. On Sunday, September 15, 1963, at around 5 p.m., Virgil and James Jr. were riding home on a single bike. Virgil sat on the handlebars and James pedaled. They had just left their uncle's scrapyard in Decina, about 8 miles outside of Birmingham, where they had been searching for a bike for Virgil's new paper route. When they came up empty-handed, they headed back, riding down a quiet, rural stretch known as the Sandusky Road. At the same time, 2 white teenagers, Michael Lee Farley and Larry Joe Sims, both 16 years old, were leaving a segregationist rally in downtown Birmingham. The rally had been cut short by sheriff deputies after the church bombing. Unlike Johnny Robinson, neither Virgil or James knew about the bombing at the 16th Street Baptist Church. They had no idea that Birmingham streets were heavy with grief, fear, and anger. For these 2 young men, it was just an ordinary Sunday. The 2 white teenagers rode a single motorcycle with Confederate flags hanging from it, owned by Michael Farley. As they made their way down the Sandusky Road, they spotted Virgil and James on their bike. Michael handed his gun to Larry and told him to shoot. Larry later stated he closed his eyes and pulled the trigger. 1 bullet struck Virgil in the chest, another bullet struck him in the cheek. The brothers' bike flipped into a ditch as Michael and Larry sped off, leaving them behind. A passing driver spotted the boys and rushed to get help. Bleeding and terrified, Virgil turned to his brother and whispered, "I've been shot." James tried to comfort him, insisting it would be okay. But moments later, Virgil took his last breath in his brother's arms. Another innocent young black life was taken because of hatred. Virgil Ware was just 13 years old. Both Larry Joe Sims and Michael Lee Farley tried to defend their actions. They claimed they had heard reports of black teenagers throwing rocks in retaliation for the church bombing and insisted that Virgil and James had done the same. Investigators later determined that claim to be false. The boys went on to say they only wanted to scare the Ware brothers, that their intent was to fire into the air. An all-white jury convicted both teenagers of second-degree manslaughter. The judge sentenced them to 7 months in jail, then suspended their sentence, excusing their actions by saying they had come from good families. In the end, both white teenagers walked away with nothing more than 2 years of probation. Over the years, the trail of information on Officer Jack Parker, Michael Lee Farley, and Larry Joe Sims has been limited to none. Their lives have been shielded from the public. Considering the racially motivated crimes they committed, many believe the community deserves to see their faces and know who they truly are. What is known is that Michael Lee Farley passed away in 2007. As for Larry Joe Sims, no information could be found. In the tragic stories of Virgil Ware and Johnny Robinson, no one ever faced true accountability, sending a chilling message that black lives could be taken without consequence. While the 4 young girls who were unalived in the church bombing became national symbols of the civil rights movement, Virgil Ware and Johnny Robinson's name were often left in the shadows. Yet they also deserve to be remembered alongside Adam May Collins, Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, and Cynthia Wesley. On September 15, 1963, 6 innocent children, their lives stolen on the very same day. Together, their stories lay bare the violence and systemic racism that scarred Birmingham and the nation. Their family and the community continue to honor their memories, ensuring their lives are not erased from history. In November 1989, Virgil's name was inscribed on the Birmingham Memorial, dedicated to the martyrs of the Civil Rights Movement. In 2012, Johnny was inducted into the Birmingham Gallery of Distinguished Citizens. Virgil was inducted the following year in 2013. Also in 2013, the Four Spirit sculpture honoring the 4 little girls included doves to represent Virgil and Johnny, with photos and inscriptions ensuring their stories are known. Their lives remind us that while justice may have failed, history cannot forget them. To Virgil Ware and Johnny Robinson, I pray that you both rest in peace. No story is forgotten, no voice should go unheard. Sending my deepest condolences and prayers to the family and friends. Until the next time, thank you for watching Shades of Crime. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and remember to pray. God's listening.